Hi, Seth Wilkinson from the SealRyt Corporation, manufacturers of the pack-grade bearing and high-performance braided packing. And today on the Seal Pump channel, Pump Seal channel? Pump Seal. All right, let's try this again. We're going to be talking about mechanical packing and the rolling versus pounding. So, rolling versus pounding, what that is in reference to is when you're going to go install packing in a pump or agitator where the shaft is not centered or aligned inside of the stuffing box. Many times that's due because you've had bearing run out, or perhaps you have a long extended shaft with a hub on the end that causes that shaft to droop. You may not necessarily have the time to rebuild that piece of equipment or maintain it in a way that's going to keep that shaft concentric, or maybe you're just not running a pack-right bearing. So there are many schools of thought on how to install packing in a stuffing box where the shaft is not centered. One of them is pounding the packing flat or rolling it. So I'm going to talk about pounding the packing first. There's nothing more frustrating when you're trying to put 10 pounds of tools in a 5-pound bag. And what do we typically do? We just try to force it. Well, that's the same thing when it comes to using a hammer when you're attempting to flatten out packing to get it to fit. Why is using a hammer not a good idea? Well, quite honestly, from the manufacturer's side, the yarns that we use to form the braided packing are meant to stay continuous. They're not meant to be broken up. They're not meant to be damaged in any way. If they were meant to be damaged, we would have done it ahead of time for you. What the pounding action does is actually starts to break up those fibers. And one of the main reasons that packing is used is because of its mechanical stability. This reduces the mechanical stability of that packing. The other thing is what it does is when you actually use that hammer on the packing, what you're going to cause is hills and valleys on the packing. And we'll just assume that that's your shaft that it's going to come in contact with. So wherever there's a hill, right at that point, these points, you're going to create hot spots. In the valleys, you're going to allow leak paths to come through. Not a good idea. So not only have you just degraded that packing mechanically, you've also created leak paths that whatever it is the process that you're using or pumping can leak by the packing a lot easier. Rolling the packing. So how do you roll the packing? It's quite simple. Most of the time you can just use a standard socket. Usually a deep well is best. The shallow well might hurt your hands, or if you have a piece of pipe. What I have here is I've set up one of our dies in a non-concentric pattern, so it's a little bit more narrow here on the 6 o'clock position and a little bit wider here at the 12 o'clock position. So this is 5/8. This is my 5/8 packing. As you can see, fits in fine up top, does not fit so good down at the bottom. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lay my packing flat. Obviously, this is the side that I'm going to want to seal here, and I'm going to roll. You can also go on the opposite side if you want and try to maintain the braid here. And what I'm doing is just a nice even pressure onto the packing to try to reduce the cross section so that it will fit inside of this die. Depending on the packing that you're using, some are easier than others. Exfoliated graphite, you may not need to apply as much pressure as you would on a carbon packing. This does take a little bit of time. Almost there. Gonna hit it one more time. Okay, so by rolling the packing, I've also lengthened the packing. So what you may need to do too is just trim off a little bit after you're done rolling it. And there you have it. Now by rolling it, I've made a smooth surface. I haven't destroyed the integrity of the yarn or the packing itself. I've crushed it down enough where it will fit inside a smaller space, and I've conjoined it properly and used a good skive cut and made sure I had a good joint at the top. Okay, while you are also creating a pinch point at the bottom, you have an extended size at the top. There are different ways that you can counteract that. One of those ways is to not skive cut your packing, to actually butt cut your packing. And then when you roll it, you do leave it a little bit long, mate those two ends together. As much as we don't like the butt cut, we understand that this may be one of those cases where you may want to use it. Push it together and it may expand a little bit right here at the joint and hopefully help fill that gap that's a little bit larger than the bottom. Another thing you can do is take one size up in packing. So this is 5/8. You can go with a 3/4 inch packing. While it will require more rolling than the 5/8, it can be done, and then leave it a little bit long as well. And then you'll notice that that 3/4 may do the job as far as filling up that top gap. If you have the time, if you have the resources to do so. I'm just saying, use a hammer for what it's for, driving nails or hitting me in the head. Either way, I ask that you don't use it on packing. Again, I'm Seth Wilkinson with the SealRyt Corporation. Thank you.